Hello and welcome to Jane Doe's Dark Secrets, the true crime podcast where we delve into the most chilling and mysterious cases worldwide. I'm your host Jane, and each week join me as we uncover the truth behind these gripping stories, explore the minds of those who commit heinous acts and seek justice for the victims. In today's episode, we delve into the mysterious and unsettling case of Rebecca Coriam. Rebecca was a vibrant 24-year-old from Chester in England who embarked on an adventure of a lifetime working as a youth activities coordinator aboard the Disney Wonder cruise ship. However, her journey took a dark turn when she vanished without a trace on the 22nd of March 2011 while the ship was sailing off the coast of Mexico. In this episode, we'll explore the events leading up to Rebecca's disappearance, the investigation that followed, and the lingering questions that remain unanswered. We'll hear from her family, friends, and experts who have closely followed the case, shedding light on the challenges of investigating disappearances at sea. Since 2000, there have been 313 documented cases of people going missing from cruise vessels, with only about 10% of those cases being resolved. Cruise ships are not legally required to make public every case of a person who goes missing or overboard. However, the case of Rebecca Coriam was one of the only few that did go public. Nevertheless, the truth about what happened to her aboard the Disney Wonder on the 22nd of March 2011 remains unknown even after a decade later. The Disney Wonder is a cruise ship operated by Disney Cruise Line. It was the second ship to join the Disney fleet, entering service in 1999. The ship was built in Italy and can accommodate around 2,400 passengers, with a crew of about 950. The Disney Wonder originally sailed 3- and 4-night cruises to the Bahamas, but has since expanded to include Alaska, the Mexican Riviera, Hawaii, the Caribbean, and the Panama Canal. The most notable incident involving the Disney Wonder cruise ship was the disappearance of crew member Rebecca in March 2011. She was last seen on the cruise ship security cameras having an upsetting phone conversation before vanishing. So let's talk about Rebecca. Rebecca was born on the 11th of March 1987 in Chester, England. She lived with her parents and sister and had 2 foster brothers. She went to Chester Catholic High School and joined the British Army Cadets. After high school, she attended Plymouth University at Exeter and studied sports science. She worked at the Chester Zoo, and it was clear she loved children and the outdoors. She was described as a bubbly person who was likeable and caring. In June of 2010, she went to London for an interview. She was trying to get a job on a Disney cruise along with hundreds of other hopefuls. After she was accepted and hired, she went to the company's Florida theme park for 4 days of training. She became a youth counsellor on the Disney cruise ship and worked on the ship for 4 months. Rebecca requested 2 months off during this period as her grandfather passed away. She went back to her hometown for 2 weeks to spend time with her family, and then spent the remainder of her time having fun until she had to go back to work. This would be the last time her family would see her. Rebecca went back to work on the cruise ship Disney Wonder that was based in the port of Los Angeles. She was on the ship for 6 weeks until the day of her disappearance. The ship went to the Mexican Riviera and through the Panama Canal in those 6 weeks. Rebecca would contact her parents on a regular basis via Facebook and Skype. On the 21st of March 2011, Rebecca sent what would be her last message to her parents on Facebook, saying that she would call them the next day. 12 hours later, on the 22nd of March, Rebecca's parents got a phone call, hoping it would be from their daughter, but instead it was from an official from Disney calling to inform them that their daughter was missing. At 9 a.m. Pacific time, Rebecca had missed her morning shift. The ship was just off the coast of Mexico, and she wasn't in her room, and the crew couldn't locate her anywhere else on the ship. They even tried to page her over the ship's public address system, but she never showed up. The crew reviewed the ship's security camera and found that just one appearance of her at 5:45 a.m. and another crew member had claimed that Rebecca had gone overboard at 3 a.m, nearly 3 hours earlier, but this claim was unverified. In the footage, it appeared Rebecca was distressed and she was using the ship's internal phone in the crew quarters. A young man walks up to her and appears to ask if she's okay. She nods and then walks away from him. Even with the Wanda's numerous surveillance cameras, it was still possible for Rebecca to find a blind spot away from the cameras on such a large ship. The ship itself, as I said, could accommodate over 2,400 passengers, with 875 staterooms and around 800 crew members. It had 11 public decks across its 1,000 feet of length. With that many people and that much space, it was easy for Rebecca to go undetected somewhere. The captain of the ship notified the US Coast Guard after learning of Rebecca's disappearance. Quite often, cruise ships will not turn back when a passenger may have gone overboard, and this is what happened with the Disney Wonder, which proceeded to its next destination of Mexico. But the Mexicans did not carry out an investigation, as the ship was reported to be in international waters when Rebecca disappeared. As the ship was registered in the Bahamas, a single police officer was flown out from the Commonwealth country with its limited resources. The Bahamas has a population of just 400,000, but more than 100 cruise ships fly its flag because it's a tax haven. At this time, Rebecca's parents were on a plane heading towards the ship, as the detective from the Royal Bahamas Police Force was going to investigate the ship after it returned to port in Los Angeles. The detective was said to have undertaken several days of on-board investigations. However, when Rebecca's parents talked to the Bahamian detective, he said he only spent 1 day on board investigating before flying back home. He had interviewed only a handful of crew members and none of the passengers on the ship. The Bahamian police claimed that there was no foul play in her disappearance. Disney had a private car with blacked out windows waiting for her parents, and only after the passengers had disembarked were they allowed to go through the back entrance to meet with the captain and some of its crew. Her parents had this to say: "Everything was staged by Disney. We were taking in the car with blacked out windows, and we had to enter the boat through its back entrance as passengers disembarked from the boat at the front. They took us to a room where they played the CCTV footage of Rebecca, where largely she appeared to be fine." The captain of the ship gave his condolences and claimed Rebecca probably went overboard by a wave while in the crew pool. Her parents doubt this claim because of the very high walls around the area. After this, her parents were given Rebecca's personal belongings. They also gave them a pair of flip-flop shoes which they had claimed were Rebecca's, and they had been found at the edge of Deck 5 near the crew pool area. However, her parents said that these were not her shoes and they had someone else's name written on the side with a different cabin crew number. A few weeks later, after her disappearance, Rebecca's parents got an email from her bank saying there had been some activity on her account. Her credit card had been used, and then there was hope for her parents that her daughter might still be alive. Her parents reached out to social media to plead for her safe return. In October of 2011, John Ronson, a journalist from The Guardian, got the Coriam's blessing to do an undercover investigation. He went on the Wonder cruise ship and took the same route it did when Rebecca went missing. He discreetly asked questions to crew members who were on the cruise at the time Rebecca went missing. These crew members wished to remain anonymous. These crew members said that Disney and the Bahamian police knew more about her fate than what they had publicly stated. Several cruise members had been told to say it never happened or that they did not know anything about Rebecca's disappearance. Ronson investigated more of the open areas on the ship where the passengers were allowed to go. Because Rebecca liked to regularly exercise, Ronson decided she might have slipped on deck 4 whilst jogging on the jogging track. It was an area with low railings that could have allowed an accident to happen. However, that area of the ship was well covered by security cameras. Ronson brought this up to a deck worker who said everybody knows that she went overboard on deck 5. He was told to go up to deck 10 and look down where the crew pool was visible. He did this, and the railing around the pool is a steel ball that is high enough to block any view from the guests. Ronson said he couldn't understand how anybody would be able to jump or fall from that area. He also noticed a mounted security camera that could have been placed in the pool area after the incident. One crew member claimed that Disney knows exactly what happened and they have the tape of the incident because Disney records everything. Ronson was told that the phone call Rebecca made whilst on the security camera was also recorded. In September 2011, her family had hope once again as Rebecca's Facebook password was changed after her family took control of it. They had logged in to investigate more and to try and find out more clues of what happened to her. Rebecca's Uncle John told her parents that her password had been changed from her original one. It is unclear if anything had been posted on her Facebook profile after the password had been changed. 1 year after her disappearance, Rebecca's father got an email from a woman who claims she had seen Rebecca with a dark-haired man in Venice, Italy, during the previous August. This woman stated she was 85% sure it was Rebecca. Seeing her pictures on the family website had jostled her memory and she wanted to contact them to let them know. Her father shared it with the family and Rebecca's uncle said it was just an email, but it felt like a legitimate lead. It was upsetting for the family thinking she could have been out there with someone after all this time. However, Rebecca didn't have her passport as it was with her belongings on the ship, so they are unsure how she could have gotten to Italy. There was an investigation in Italy, but Rebecca was not found. Rebecca's parents eventually hired private investigators and they said they did not see any evidence of suicide and they thought there was a possibility of foul play. The investigators also analysed the flip-flop shoes given to her parents and concluded they did not belong to Rebecca, giving further doubt to Disney's theory that she fell from deck 5. In March of 2014, the Coriams sued Disney for failing in their duty to care and keep their daughter safe. Their family also claimed that they waited 4 hours to notify the US Coast Guard and almost 7 hours to notify the authority with the jurisdiction of the investigation, which was the police in the Bahamas. Disney denied this and said their claims had no merit. The family and Disney settled out of court sometime in 2015. I tried to look for more information about this, but I was unable to find anything on the lawsuit. Okay, now let's delve into the theories of what could have happened to Rebecca. So Rebecca had made a close friend on the cruise ship and she confided in her about her personal life. This friend was Melissa, and she told Ronson that Rebecca's relationship with her partner was intense. Both when it was great and both when it was awful. Melissa thinks she might have been on the phone with her partner and that is why she was so distraught around the time she went missing. Melissa said that while bubbly, Rebecca was also a risk taker and loved being on deck 5. She would sometimes climb over the large steel wall to sit on the edge of the boat, and she may have done so that night/morning to clear her head, and she didn't realise she had made a mistake until it was too late. Her parents believe that she could have been sexually assaulted and murdered. While Disney still claims that she was swept overboard by a freak wave, later information came in from her friends like Melissa that she had a threesome with fellow colleagues on the ship that had traumatised her just hours before she was seen on the phone in the surveillance video. The two colleagues that had reportedly participated in the threesome were Tracy Medley and Devon Hyde. The two are not suspected to be involved in any wrongdoing, but private investigators said Rebecca had an intense relationship with Tracy, but during the threesome, it was the first time Rebecca had sex with Devon Hyde. Staff said Rebecca became upset when she realised Tracy was getting close to Devon. This was said to have made her leave the cabin in a distraught and traumatised state. Private investigators going over the video think she may have been heading to the medical unit on deck 1 where she was seen on the phone. The head of security on the Disney ship, Mark Rotherham, said Rebecca told him she was pressured into having sex with Devon in order to continue a relationship with her girlfriend Tracy. He said she was uncomfortable with the situation and he believes it was the first time being with a man. When Rebecca was seen on the CCTV, she was wearing men's clothing and was seen holding her head and looking distressed. It was also found out that the person she called on the phone was a different friend called Tracy O'Brien, who also worked on the cruise ship. Rebecca confided in her that they were asked to do a threesome but she didn't want to, so O'Brien told her not to go back to them and just to go to bed. O'Brien told her she'll talk to Tracy in the morning, as she was usually the peacemaker when the couple were arguing. While the Bahama police don't believe that any foul play was involved, they claim she may have committed suicide or an accidental death by the freak wave. However, Rebecca's parents still believe she could have been murdered and claim she would have never have killed herself. In 2017, Rebecca's girlfriend and co-worker Tracy Medley told the Sun newspaper she believes her girlfriend deliberately leapt 100 foot to her death because she had talked of doing it before. Tracy Medley said Rebecca was far from the happy-go-lucky person painted by her family. Instead, she says Rebecca was in turmoil after being raped as a teenager, used cocaine, and once got so emotional she banged her head against the ship's steel walls. Tracy said, "I have nothing to hide. My silence was never an admission of guilt. My silence was to protect the image of my friend. I spent 6 years reading bullshit claims from Rebecca's family that she was fun-loving, never sad athlete with no issues and a love for life. Her disappearance to them could not be possibly due to suicide. Someone needed to be blamed for this, and unfortunately they saw that opportunity with me." Rebecca felt like a misfit. She felt that her family was ashamed that she was a lesbian. She once mentioned how her sister was embarrassed of the new friend she started to hang out with. Tracy is now married with a young daughter and she lives in Boston, in the US. She met Rebecca in 2010. They were on the Disney Wonder and both worked as children's entertainers. Tracy goes on to say, "I went to a party and Rebecca was there. We were flirting all night and after that we were inseparable. She walked me through a lot of feelings about my sexuality. When we took things to the next level, it felt right and we were madly in love." Soon after, however, Tracy said she found out that Rebecca had used cocaine. Tracy said, "I remember going through her phone and seeing a text where she was asking someone if they had more cocaine because she needed some. I asked her why she used coke in England and she got very upset, saying I invaded her privacy and I was a psycho for going through her phone. I've never used cocaine, so I asked her what rush it gave her. She said she thought it damaged her a bit, so she hadn't used it much." Tracy goes on to describe their relationship as wild, fun and passionately intense, but admits Rebecca was frustrated by her lack of serious commitment. At the time, Tracy also had a boyfriend, the ship's barman, Devon Hyde, who was 33, who was on shore leave when Tracy and Rebecca met. When Devon returned to the vessel and Tracy resumed their romance, Rebecca was devastated. Tracy said, "The night before she went missing, I remember her being upset with me again. She started drinking, and while we tried to walk her back to her room, she screamed, she cried, and she punched herself in the face and banged her head against the wall of the ship. It took 4 of us to calm her down, and we ended up carrying her to my room. This same night, Rebecca woke me up and said something along the lines of feeling like a failure because she wasn't brave enough to jump off the ship. She thought that not being able to kill herself showed how truly weak she was. I told her that this was ridiculous and it showed that she had something to live for, and this is why she couldn't go through with it. The next evening, 20th of March 2011, Rebecca had drinks in the bar with Tracy and Devon, which ended with a threesome in his room. Tracy said, "Rebecca actually initiated it, and I remember feeling like, yes, there's my carefree girl." The last few days had been so draining dealing with her emotions, and I felt like she was finally letting go of some of the baggage she carried around. I remember dozing off on Devon's bed and Rebecca telling me we should go. I was tired and drunk and I didn't want to go anywhere, I just wanted to pass out. She asked me to go with her again and I said no. She said she needed to go for a walk and I said, "You're coming back, right?" She wanted to throw something on and I told Devon to grab her something to wear. I even had him leave the door unlocked so she could come back in. CCTV shows Rebecca at 4:45 a.m. walking along the deck in baggy men's clothes and tugging at her hair looking distraught. She failed to turn up for work later. The only trace of her was a pair of flip-flops near the 6-foot steel wall around the pool on deck 5. Tracy says, "Once I woke up and realised the door was still unlocked, I knew she'd never returned. I panicked. I had a feeling something was not right. People thought there was something sinister going on, but I never left the room. I have a wonderful husband and a beautiful child, but people have this perception of me that isn't true. I just want to clear my name. I have nothing to hide. I never did anything to physically harm Rebecca. My gut tells me she jumped only because there were previous attempts." Rebecca's dad, Michael Coriam, said he could not comment on Tracy's claims when he was contacted by the Sun newspaper. In 2015, Chester's MP, Chris Matheson, who had been coordinating with the investigation, believes there is a possibility of murder. The events are supported by the allegations of rape or sexual assault, and Matheson said he believes there is sufficient evidence to indicate a crime had taken place. He continues to investigate. However, to this day, Disney Cruises still claims Rebecca was swept overboard. The main theory posed by Disney is that it was an accidental death. The captain of the ship and Disney's claim is she went overboard after a freak wave hit the side of the boat she was on. They say she was almost likely to be washed away into the ocean and she drowned. Rebecca's parents do not believe this. Another theory involves Rebecca committing suicide, like Tracy said. Some people say she was always kind and bubbly, but had an underlying sadness about her. The video that recorded Rebecca's last moments on the ship shows her in some sort of distress. Rebecca's family and friends said she would never want to kill herself and that she was happy with her job and with life. The third theory posed by her parents is that she was murdered by the people who claimed to have had the sexual encounter with her on the boat the night she went missing. They theorised she was uncomfortable sleeping with Devon and was forced into having a threesome with her girlfriend Tracy and this man. After it was done, Rebecca was distraught and left the cabin to wander the ship. Some say she could have been going to the medical unit and was murdered by someone to keep her quiet about the sexual encounter. The man she had been forced to sleep with was in fact already married, and this is another reason why some people think he would want to keep her quiet about what happened. Police have in fact ruled out Rebecca's girlfriend Tracy and the man Devon as suspects. The last theory I could find was human trafficking. A lot of people think she was a victim of human trafficking because on cruise ships, human trafficking is a huge problem, and it's not far-fetched to believe that she was captured and taken elsewhere. There have been a few unconfirmed sightings of Rebecca on various island countries, but nothing has come of it. Disney and the authorities that investigated her disappearance say this never happened. They deny this sort of thing would ever be possible, and because of their denial, many people believe that Disney knows for a fact that human trafficking happens on their cruise ships, but they always cover it up. As of time of recording, January 2025, nobody knows for sure what happened to Rebecca on the night, and no one seems to be coming forward with any helpful information. Her parents and friends continue to search for Rebecca and look for any information possible about her disappearance. As we conclude today's episode, we reflect on the life and the mysterious disappearance of Rebecca Coriam. Her story is a poignant reminder of the uncertainties and dangers that can lurk even in the most seemingly magical of places. Despite the passing of time, the questions surrounding Rebecca's fate remain unanswered, leaving her family and friends in a state of grief and uncertainty. Rebecca's case has not only highlighted the need for more vigorous safety measures and investigative protocols on cruise ships, but it has also brought attention to the broader issue of disappearances at sea. As we continue to seek justice and truth for Rebecca, we hope that her story will inspire greater awareness and action to protect those who work and travel on the high seas. If you found this episode compelling, please make sure to follow Jane Doe's Dark Secrets for more true crime stories that uncover the hidden truths behind some of the world's most chilling cases. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at the Jane Doe Podcast for updates and behind the scene content. You can also share your thoughts on today's episode. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments what other dark secrets you'd like me to uncover in future episodes. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe. This is Jane signing off.